Here is a moment nobody prepares you for. You wake up one morning and the world looks the same. The sun is in the same place. The traffic is the same. The notifications on your phone are the same. But something inside you has finished hardening. Some invisible wall has finished building itself, and you cannot remember exactly when the bricks went down. All you know is that the version of you who used to lose sleep over a single harsh word is gone, and the new version is not loud about it. The new version is not proud. The new version is just quietly, terrifyingly, unbreakable. That is what these laws are really about. Not motivation, not inspiration, not a leaner morning routine or a sharper playlist. These laws are about forging a mind that cannot be cracked open by another human being ever again. And the man who originally wrote them was not a monk. He was not a hermit. He was not a philosopher hiding from the world in some quiet retreat. He was the most powerful man alive at that moment, holding the entire Roman Empire together with both hands, surrounded by traitors and sycophants and conspirators and enemies who wanted him dead before the sun came up. And somehow, in the middle of all that pressure, he engineered laws for an unbreakable mind. That is where we begin. The first law is the most uncomfortable one, and almost nobody wants to hear it. You will never control what happens to you. So stop building your peace on the assumption that you can. Marcus Aurelius wrote this principle into his private journal again and again because he watched powerful men around him fall apart over things they were never supposed to be able to control in the first place. He watched generals rage over lost battles. He watched senators grieve over public opinion. He watched his own wife fall into bitterness over court gossip and political humiliation. And he saw the pattern. He saw that every miserable person in his inner circle was a person who had built their emotional house on someone else's land. They had tied their mood to a rumor. They had tied their dignity to a comment. They had tied their sleep to a stranger's approval. And the second that stranger coughed, the whole structure collapsed. The first law cuts that rope. It tells you that your peace must be built on ground you own, not the weather, not the marketplace, not the mood of the people around you. Your ground, your discipline, your breath, your interpretation of the event. Because what happens to you is not optional. It never has been. But what you do with what happens to you is the only piece of real estate nobody can evict you from. The second law is even darker. Stop needing people to understand you in order to feel worthy. In an age that performs and broadcasts and announces every small victory, this law feels like flat-out madness. Because we have been trained to seek validation like oxygen. We post, we wait, we refresh. We say something meaningful and then spend the next 40 minutes staring at a screen, waiting for someone to confirm that we exist. Marcus Aurelius could not afford this. He was emperor. He could not post his thoughts. He could not ask his court whether they liked him today. He had to be certain of himself before anyone else gave him permission. And this is the brutal truth hiding inside the law. The more you need to be understood, the easier you are to manipulate. Because if someone can withhold their understanding of you, they can withhold your peace. If someone can twist your words and refuse to clarify them, they can quietly take control of the narrative of who you actually are. The second law severs that cord. It says you do not need the world to translate you correctly. You only need to be accurate with yourself. And if a person refuses to see you clearly, that is not your failure. That is a reflection of how close they were ever willing to stand. The third law is the one people skip past because it looks simple on the surface. Do every act of your life as if it were the last time you would ever perform it. It sounds poetic. It sounds like a wallpaper quote. But when you actually live inside this sentence for a single week, your entire life changes. Because you cannot fake anything when you assume today is your last day. You cannot waste a single hour on a person who drains you. You cannot spend your morning resentful because you know this morning is the last one you will ever see. You cannot postpone the conversation that matters because this might be your only chance to ever have it. Marcus Aurelius wrote this law while surrounded by death. The Roman frontier was a slaughterhouse. His armies were dying. His friends were dying. People he loved were falling to plague and war and political murder. So the law was not abstract for him. It was survival. And that is the part most people miss entirely. This is not a law about appreciating life in some soft, sentimental way. This is a law about refusing to live as if you have unlimited tomorrows. Because you do not. Nobody does. The moment you live as if you do, you become lazy with your own existence. And lazy existence is where every single regret in your life will eventually breed. The fourth law is silence. Real, defensive, intelligent silence. Marcus Aurelius believed that most of what people say is noise disguised as connection. He watched men speak to dominate. He watched men speak to flatter. He watched men speak to lie. He watched men speak to avoid the deeper conversation they were terrified to actually have. And he watched himself, sometimes, speak for the very same reasons. The fourth law tells you that the quietest person in the room is usually the one who is winning. Not because they have nothing to say, but because they have learned the most expensive secret in human life. Words, once released, cannot be taken back. And the world has a stronger memory than you do. So every unnecessary sentence is a door you cannot close. The loud ones in your life will tell you that silence is weakness. They will insist you are shutting down. They will accuse you of being manipulative. Recognize that accusation for exactly what it is. It is panic. It is panic from a person who depended on your words to read your moods. Because you no longer speak first, they cannot predict you. And a person who cannot be predicted is a person who cannot be controlled. The fifth law cuts even deeper. You are allowed to walk away from people who keep choosing to hurt you. We were taught that love means staying. We were taught that family means forever. We were taught that loyalty is the same thing as endurance. Marcus Aurelius disagreed with all of that. He wrote that you should not dignify ongoing disrespect with another visit. He wrote that there is no honor in repeatedly offering your throat to someone who has already shown you exactly how sharp their teeth are. And he wrote this knowing full well that some of the people hurting him were his own blood. Some of them sat at his own table. Some of them shared his family name. And yet the law does not flinch. It does not soften for blood, because cruelty does not become any less cruel because of the person committing it. A mother who wounds you is still wounding you. A brother who betrays you is still betraying you. A friend who chose their own comfort over your dignity is still choosing their comfort over your dignity. The fifth law gives you permission that nobody else ever will. It tells you in writing that you can love someone and still leave. You can miss someone and still never return to them. There was a version of Marcus Aurelius that the empire never saw, and it is the most important version of him. Not the man on the coins. Not the man in the marble statues with the perfect jaw and the commanding stare. A tired man, alone in a tent on a cold frontier, writing to nobody, performing for nobody, because there was nobody left to perform for. That is where the sixth law was born. Almost everyone around him was exhausting themselves, trying to look larger than they actually were. Generals inflating their victories, senators inflating their virtue, philosophers inflating their wisdom until it curdled into arrogance. And underneath every single one of those performances was the same quiet fear, the fear of being seen as ordinary. Marcus Aurelius refused to live inside that fear. He understood something most people never learn until it is far too late. Real strength does not announce itself at the door. Real wisdom never needs a stage. The sixth law asks you to take the costume off, the one you have been wearing so long you forgot it was a costume. Drop the competence you have not actually earned yet. Drop the calm you are faking in front of people who would notice in a second if you actually cracked. Be exactly who you are today, unimpressive parts included, and then go build the next version of yourself somewhere nobody is watching. Because the second you start caring more about how you look than how you actually are, the war is already lost, and you lost it quietly, without even noticing the moment it happened. Somebody is going to tell you that you are brilliant today, or talented, or the most important person in whatever room you happen to be standing in. And for one clean second, your entire nervous system is going to light up like you just won something enormous. That feeling is the seventh law's warning sign, not its reward. Praise tastes earned even when it isn't, and that is exactly what makes it so dangerous. Marcus Aurelius spent his life around men who got addicted to it, the same way people get addicted to anything that feels good and costs nothing up front. Generals who needed a parade after every battle just to feel like the battle mattered. Writers who needed applause after every page just to feel like the page was worth writing. And every one of them eventually quietly started shaping their choices around getting that hit again instead of around what was actually true or right. That is the trap hiding inside compliments. The seventh law does not tell you to reject praise. It tells you to never let praise become the reason you lower your own standards. Never let it loosen the discipline you built when nobody was clapping for you. Never let it convince you that the loudest version of you, the one performing for an audience, is somehow more real than the quiet version nobody applauds. Because most praise was never really about you in the first place. It was about what somebody needed from you in that exact moment, and the moment always ends. The eighth law is humility against an enemy no one can defeat anyway. Death is coming, and every day you waste pretending it is not is a day you have stolen from your own life. Marcus Aurelius did not write about death to frighten himself. He wrote about death to liberate himself from the small tyrants in his own mind. Because the moment you accept that this life carries an expiration date, the small things stop bullying you. The rude comment cannot ruin your entire day when you remember you do not have unlimited days left to ruin. The argument cannot eat your week when you remember this week is one of the final ones you will ever see. The job cannot own your soul when you remember that you, the job, the boss, the building, all of it will be gone before long. The eighth law is not morbid at its core. It is medicine. It is the medicine that strips urgency from what does not matter and installs real urgency around what truly does. Because the question is not whether death is coming. The question has never been that. The question is whether you will live well, deeply, completely, before it does. The ninth law is the one nobody wants to admit out loud. Your suffering is not happening to you. It is happening inside your interpretation of what is happening. Marcus Aurelius did not invent this principle to minimize genuine pain. He invented it to localize pain, to trace it back to its actual source instead of letting it bleed everywhere. Because most suffering is not caused by the original event itself. Most suffering is caused by the second arrow we deliberately shoot into ourselves after the first arrow lands. The first arrow is the sudden loss. The second arrow is the story we keep telling around it. The first arrow is the betrayal by someone you loved. The second arrow is the long 3 a.m. conversation with yourself about what it secretly means about you. The first arrow is the rejection. The second arrow is the false belief we keep telling ourselves that we will never ever recover from it. The 9th law does not pretend to erase the first arrow. It simply refuses to ever load the second one. And when you stop loading the second arrow, you discover, with a kind of quiet horror, that a frightening percentage of your suffering was self-inflicted, self-narrated, and quietly self-perpetuated. That realization is not weakness. That is finally seeing clearly. And the 10th law is the keystone that holds the entire structure together. Do not be dragged into other people's storms ever again. This is the law that holds every other law upright. Because you can master your own mind and still lose it the second someone else's crisis pulls you back under. Someone panics and you absorb the panic. Someone collapses and you collapse right alongside them. Someone lives in permanent emergency and you quietly mistake their emergency for your own personal responsibility. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you are allowed to be the calm in someone else's storm, but you are never allowed to become their storm. And that single line is the truest line in the entire collection, because it tells you in plain words that compassion has a real perimeter, help has a real boundary, loyalty has an honest limit, and crossing those lines does not make you noble. It makes you weak in the exact way the strong ones never recover from. The weak person dissolves into another person's chaos because they do not know how to hold their own weight under pressure. The strong person stays anchored inside their own mind, offers a steady hand, and walks away the moment that hand gets bitten. Now hear this clearly, because these laws were never designed to be comforting. They were designed to harden you. They were designed for a man who lived at the edge of an empire, surrounded by death and betrayal and pressure and loneliness, and still chose every single morning to be good, still chose to be calm, still chose to be unshakable when everyone around him was shaking. And if these laws were strong enough to hold a man who was holding together the most powerful empire in the ancient world under conditions most modern people could not survive for one full week, then they will absolutely work for you. But here is the twist nobody on the internet will tell you. The moment you actually start living by these 10 laws, you will be misunderstood. People will say you have suddenly become cold. They will insist you have stopped caring altogether. They will say loyalty is gone. They will say softness is gone. And the 10th law, the very last one, prepares you for this exact accusation before it ever arrives. It tells you that the people who misunderstand your peace are almost always the same people who quietly depended on your chaos. They are not mourning your coldness. They are mourning your availability. They are mourning the version of you who never had a single boundary, the version of you who could be summoned at any hour of any night for any reason at all. And you owe that old version of yourself absolutely nothing. Not an apology, not a return trip, not a sympathetic second chance. You owe the new version of yourself your full, undivided, uncompromising presence. That is what an unbreakable mind looks like from the outside looking in. It looks like stillness. And stillness, to anyone who has never held any of it themselves, always looks like absence. So build this mind, not because the world out there deserves your strength, but because you finally do. Because the version of you that bends under every insult, that flattens itself for every critic, that chases after every scrap of approval like oxygen, that quietly crumbles inside every rejection, that version is not living. It is surviving on borrowed time. And the borrowed time, whether you admit it or not, is already running out. The mind that cannot be broken is not a fantasy you read about online. It is a project. It is built law by law, refusal by refusal, morning by morning, breath by breath. And once it is finally built, nobody, absolutely nobody alive has the power to take it from you. Not the cruel one, not the quiet manipulator, not the friend who disappeared when you needed them most, not the family member who betrayed the very blood you share, not the stranger on the internet who tried to twist your words into something you never said. None of them. Your own mind is the last fortress you will ever own. Wall it up, guard it closely, and never, ever again hand the keys to another human being on this earth. That is what Marcus Aurelius spent his entire reign slowly learning, year after quiet year. And by the time he finished learning it, the empire was still standing, and so was he, and so will you.